boss jock has entered the building. You are listening to the Sportcat Show.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. You have me, Sportcat, the one and only, often imitated, never duplicated. I am here with you for the next, what are we here for, 2 hours? We're doing the Sportcat Daily Gazette. We've got a lively chat already. We have Denise. Hello, Denise. Chris is in the chat. Hello, Chris. Welcome, welcome. And somewhere I saw in there, Wendell. There's Wendell. Hello, Wendell. I hope everybody's having a great day. Well, I'm trying to do my, Chris asked, he said he liked that intro. I'm trying to do a standard intro for all my shows. So if you're listening on Spotify or the Finland Rock Station, which, by the way, I have patches. If anybody's interested in a morale patch, you can check that out. I'm trying to get the same intro because I use that on the radio as kind of a joke thing. But I've decided that I'm going to use it on just my solo shows that Wendell said, again? What again, Wendell? But that way I got everything. I'm trying to get everything to where when people listen, they go, oh, that's Glen. All right, our Sportcat, whatever you want to call me. I don't care. Just don't call me late for dinner. So I am still coming to you live from my mom's attic, and I was bitten by a spider, although I don't think it was radioactive. And I don't understand how things like this happened to me. Apparently, I'm going to say it was Friday night. I was bitten by a spider, and I don't know how I got bitten by a spider, but over the weekend, I could hardly move my right ankle, and it's still swollen and sore and hurts like poo, but yeah, I'll be all right, I guess. So I haven't got any spider powers yet. I keep hoping. So maybe one of these days, we'll see. All right, well, let's kick things off like we usually do. We start off with what is today? Well, today is the 29th of April, 2025, and it's currently, well, it's about midnight 06 in Australia and about 1 p.m. in the East Coast of the United States. Poor spider. Well, funny story. I don't know if it was the spider I got last night, but he paid dearly with his life. So, all right. Well, today is a National Shrimp Scampi Day. Not a fan of shrimp, and I can't say that I ever had shrimp scampi. And before you at me about not being a fan of shrimp, it's because I had food poisoning as a child, and the smell of shrimp makes me kind of nauseous. It's National Zipper Day. You know, that YKK that dangles from all of our clothing, purses, and stuff, our go bags. And it's National Peace Rose Day. That's a nice day. And let's see what birthdays and events are today. We'll just hit people that are within our lifetime. Well, Wendell, that would probably be this one in 1863. William Randolph Hearst, founder of the Hearst Corporation. So, so Chris says, if it wasn't the guilty spider, you still sent a message. Yes, I did. That spider pissed me off. So, and you know, we're getting a little too far advanced with AI, because I caught a picture of it on the wall. It was blurry. It was out of focus. It was moving, and AI quickly, boom, like that, identified it as it was a common spider. And it told me that it wouldn't kill me. I was like, damn, I was trying too hard. Willie Nelson, he is still living. Yes. I think, was he 92? So, and he put out an album last summer. It was actually pretty good. Jerry Seinfeld, he's a comedian and actor. He's still living. He's actually starting to do another sitcom. I hope it's kind of like his last one. I like that show. 1945, the U.S. liberates 31,601 prisoners from a concentration camp. And let's see, Desmond Doss saves 75 wounded soldiers at the Battle of Okinawa, Hacksaw Ridge, which was made into a famous movie. And in 1953, Wendell, you'll remember this one, the first experimental 3D broadcast shows on ABC sitcom Space Patrol. Okay, let's see. Wendell wants to know, did you grease the zipper on the back of your underwear? No, the front I did, though, because, and let me tell you, if you've ever got stuck, well, never mind. Jan Brady. Who's Jan Brady? Oh, from the Brady Bunch. 1974, President Nixon announced the release of the edited transcripts of the White House tape recordings for the Watergate scandal. I kind of remember that. In 2004, that was 20 years ago. Well, yeah, 21 years ago, the final Oldsmobile built was in Lansing, Michigan, ending 107 years of production. Wendell, did you have one of the first Oldsmobiles? Asking for a friend. So he said it was Jan Brady's birthday today. Okay, well, I haven't looked yet. Well, I didn't see it, but that doesn't mean that's not the case. We'll look over on this site and see what is today. Well, today is AMKD Awareness Day. That's got to have something to do with no, wrong one, dummy. With kidney disease. So it's a kidney disease awareness day. Yes, everybody should make sure that they have healthy kidneys. Yes, Denise says, I had an insurance claim where a man caught his, well, you know what, in a zipper. And it is a thing. I ran a call. Actually, I ran one of them on a kid and the other one as an adult. The kid, he just did it by accident. The adult, he was just stupid. So I'll leave it. Then he asked me to help him unzip it. I was like, no, you're on your own there, brother. I'll take you to the hospital, but you're on your own there. Fire department doesn't do that kind of extrication. Today is National Supply Chain Day. Well, that's a big topic today, which we're probably not going to cover. Poem in Your Pocket Day. You know, weird thing. We talked about poems yesterday, and I had a poetry dream. I'm going to have to research that. Maybe I need to become a poet. World Wish Day. We Jump the World Day. Join us as we celebrate We Jump. Okay, I got to look at that one. We Jump World Day. We Jump World Day is celebrated on April 29th. It's about the art of parkour, also known as free running, and the impact it has on people who practice it. We Jump the World Day was first celebrated in 2016 by Team Farang, a clothing brand inspired by parkour. Here's what the brand said. We Jump the World Day. It's all about getting out with your crew or by yourself and doing parkour. Okay. All around the world, and at the same time, the holiday places a strong emphasis on belongingness among our parkour community worldwide. Okay, what is a parkour? Parkour began in the 1990s on the outskirts of Paris, France. David Belay initially developed free running according to the understanding of the art of movement as taught to him by his father, who was a firefighter. Oh, okay. During his teenage years, Belay and his friends practiced parkour, jumping and climbing over such structures as stairs, barriers, walls, and across the city. Belay art of movement involved utilizing structures in ways that weren't part of the original purpose. It was later polarized in films such as B-13 featuring Belay himself. Sporting events across the globe helped further the transformation and reach more people. The discipline has its root in the military obstacle course and involves running, climbing, swinging, and rolling. Plyometrics, etc. The sport is about getting from point A to point B, despite the many obstacles in the way, in the most fluid way possible. Though parkour can be either a solitary or group activity, a certain community spirit has been formed among its practitioners. Okay. I did not know that. So there you go. We learned something new today. So get out, run, jump, do an obstacle course. There you go. So, World Wish Day. We all have a wish that we hope comes true. And it's the official Remembrance Day of fallen soldiers and victims of terrorism, Yom Nazkaron. And it's the I can't pronounce that one. McClymouth Comedy Festival. Forget your worries and get ready to celebrate good times at the McClymouth Comedy Festival. I don't know. Today's would have been Dale Earnhardt's birthday. It's Jerry Seinfeld's, Master P's, Ray Nats, Roman Dirge, don't know who that is, kind of weird looking, and Willie Nelson. And he's recorded 350 songs. Yeah, Dale Sr. He was definitely the intimidator if you watched racing. I remember the race well where he had the crash. So Janice said she had a Honda, now has a Nissan. My wife's looking at it. Mrs. Sportcat is looking at a Nissan. She said her dad had a 52 Chevy. Wendell says he never had an Oldsmobile, Ford, or Chevy. I never had a Oldsmobile, Ford, and Chevy and Mercury. So, okay. Now, when Chris says it was on the list, you were just still in shock that Willie was still alive. So I understand the oversight. Thank you, because it's that man's secret to long living. And I actually have a Willie Nelson EMS story. All right, so he was in concert somewhere in Atlanta, and he parked his bus away from the site so that people wouldn't know where he was. And it was the parking lot of an abandoned shopping mall. And they got a call for smoke coming from a motorhome in the parking lot. So police responded because, back in that day, we were all concerned about the T word and got there before us. And they had this poor elderly man in handcuffs and said there was no fire. Well, we were almost there because it was right around the corner. We get there, the bus was smoking, but it wasn't from a fire per se. It was hotboxed. A whole tour bus was hotboxed. And I looked at this young police officer and I said, do you know who that is? He's no. I said, that's Willie. He's like, Willie who? So, well, I got some explaining to do. So I pulled up some YouTube and showed him. He goes, that's him. I said, yeah, he got him in cuffs right there. He goes, okay. So he takes the cuffs off. It tells him, stop smoking. True story. Weird thing happened. Willie looked at me and thanked me, and I was like, hey, I can't have you going to jail. I said, do you need to be checked out medically? He goes, no, I'm high as F. I'm like, right on, brother. And he proceeded to get back on the bus and close the door. I had some weird encounters with stars in Atlanta. So Wendell said he had a 62 Thunderbird. That was before my time. And a 67 Cougar. All right. Cougar. That was Mercury, Ford, Cougar, Lincoln, Ford. I don't know. All right. So today, historical events on April 29th, the Battle of Gate Pa. And that was 1,700 British troops in 1864 suffered their worst defeat, even after we took a whole continent away from them. At 200 as all right, let's try this again. 1,700 British troops suffer their worst defeat of the New Zealand Wars at the hands of 200 entrenched Maori warriors in Tarragona. Yeah, that's it. In 1872, the Jesse James gangs robbed a bank of $1,500 in Columbia, Kentucky, killing bank employee A.C. Martin during the crime. Well, I had a cousin of Jesse James. That was like a 5 times removed cousin, but I had her on one of my shows. Let's see. What do we get back in the chat here? Ford Trina. That was the one that was a pickup, wasn't it? It was half car, half pickup, right? My stepfather had one of those. So, and Chris says 1776 was an ass kicking they don't like to talk about. True, because I'd never heard of it. Let's see. In 1945, we talked about that, where the U.S. liberated from the Nazi concentration camp, 3,100 people, almost 32. In 1972, the U.S. began its evacuations of the city from Saigon in Operation Frequent Wind in response to the advancing North Vietnamese forces bringing into the U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War. So that was the fall of Saigon. 1990, wrecking cranes began tearing down the Berlin Wall. I remember that. At the Brandenburg Gate. In 1991, cyclone strikes the Chittagong district in Bangladesh, killing 139,000 people, leaving 10 million homeless. Wow. 1997, Chemical Weapons Convention 1993 comes into force, outlawing the production, stockpile, and the use of chemical weapons among its signatories. So we had today in Family and Film, 1932, the first broadcast of One Man's Family on NBC Radio, the longest running dramatic serial on U.S. radio. Wendell remembers that one. And in 1967, Aretha Franklin released Respect, Respect, written by Otis Redding. I didn't know that. And today in sports, 1922 was the first official International Weightlifting Federation champion held in Tallinn, Estonia. All right, so we'll check these people out and see if they got her down here. Let's see, famous birthdays. We'll just go back to people we know. Duke Ellington, Hirioto, Bernie Madoff. He was a criminal, wasn't he? Dale Earnhardt, we talked about him. We talked about Willie, 92. I was close. I said 93. Seinfeld, 71. Daniel Day-Lewis, Andre Agassi, and Uma Thurman. Hold on. I want to confirm that. Let's see here. How old would she have been? Good Lord, we're going way back. We're just going to go back to somewhere around my generation, starting in the 60s. So people actually know their names. Let's see here. Mark Kendall, American rock guitarist for Great White, was born on this day. Let's see. Eve Plum. There you go. 1958. Eve Plum, Janice Brady from the Brady Bunch. And I'm going to get you, sucker. I don't remember that. Man, she was born in Burbank. Gary Cohen. He was a sports broadcaster. Mark Randolph. And Simon Edwards. He was a British folk in the song rock. Roger Eno. He was an ambient and film music producer. Bill Glasson. And we're skipping forward here a few years and just kind of scrolling through all these names of people I don't know. Should I know these people? I don't know. I'm not too up on world events. 73, Mike Hogan, the Irish rock bassist for the Cranberries. All right. I'm still looking for people I know. I don't know many people, apparently. Bob Bryan, American professional tennis player. Mike Bryan, American professional tennis player. That apparently must have been twins. Joe O'Mara, British pop songwriter. Matt Tong, Ryan Sharp. He's a Scottish race car driver. And still, not many people I know. All right. Well, we will just move on from that. Since I remember watching you on the first TV. Let's see. So I had a 73 Nova with a 396 big block and a 10-bolt rear end turbo 400 transmission. I don't know what any of that means, Wendell, so I'll just accept that that's a good thing. What was the first event you remember watching on TV? The first major television thing I remember watching was Richard Nixon resigning. It was in black and white, and it was the whole family was like glued to the TV. Richard Nixon resigning. That's the first memories of TV I have. So, all right, we're going to start with an article from Zero Hedge, and it's kind of an opinion piece, but kind of reality. The my Mountain Dew is kicking in. Existential threat of existential threat. Climate change is an existential threat. Misinformation is, if I could pronounce this word, a threat. Inequality is a threat. The next pandemic is a threat. Our democracy is facing a threat. And everyone must be prepared for each of them and prepared to do anything to stop them. That's the current line, at least. The line that is driving global society at all levels just to the edge of sanity and cohesion. And that's on purpose because it's much easier to push someone over the edge when they are already standing next to it. Each of these false threats are being intentionally inflicted, being bad things, on an already weakened body politic, making it even more vulnerable to its destruction and eventual death. And this is important. Being told you are going to die is devastating. Being told you and your family are going to die is monumentally awful. Being told everyone going to die is numbing. It creates a state of utter helplessness, a state in which you are far more pliant. Your situational awareness dims, your fight or flight senses slows, and you just stand and stare until someone puts their arm around your shoulders and leads you away. And those invoking that dread are waiting nearby to do just that. Take society on the shoulder, offer it comfort in the form of entertainment, medication, and basic subsistence, and lead it away. Each of these threats is aimed directly at the first principle of Western society, the primacy of the individual. All the threats, all of the communitarianism being foisted upon the culture, including the claim that this is what the group a person is a part of, not the person themselves. That is the most important defining humanistic characteristic, human characteristics, having the same underlying message, the elimination of the idea that society is made up of a discrete individual with personal agency. And from not acknowledging individual agency is not permitting it at all is a very short step. That is the actual existential threat of the false existential threat, now bouncing around the globe, clattering into people and families and societies and cultures, and intentionally causing so much chaos and disruption that just standing in one place is not necessarily an irrational decision. Of course, none of the current coming catastrophes are existential threats. They aren't really threats at all, but the vanguard of the global societal socialist status that makes the public think they are, under penalty of ostracization, job loss, and censorship. Besides not being actual threats, they cannot even remotely be described as an existential threat. An existential threat is in part defined as a threat to the very existence of a thing or system. It is terminal, global, and transgenerational. It is not transitory. It is not political. It is not determined by the people making the claim to be an existential threat. Something must be real and unprecedented and permanent. But the term, which seems to be an important sounding, but let me start that again. But the term, which seems to be important sounding because it actually is, can be misused by people and groups to heighten the impact of their statement, no matter what it may be, because their actual definition is either not widely known or purposefully ignored by the people using it and the media that reports what they are claiming. This opens the door to anything being described as such a threat. There is also issue of the origin of the term. Existential philosophers focused on the subjective ideas of thought and emotion and action as they relate to existence, with the more concrete, quote, threats described when the term is used punitively, real and specific. This is an additional misleading element of the use of term. In other words, the term is used to apply to a thin veneer of intellectual certainty to the threat that is claiming actually exists, that is, to the threat that it is actually claiming actually exists. Despite the protestations of the greenocracy, the real global existential threat is not fossil fuel or proper food or basic human mobility, or all the aspects of the material economy. The real threat is from the ethereal economy of the government agencies, civil society actors, non-governmental organizations, foundations, and academia, all aided by the information cabal. Together, they do in fact currently have the power to foist something upon civilization that is truly transgenerational, global, and terminal. All right. And the never-ending pretense of emergency is a powerful tool in accomplishing that goal. This is important. What happens when the dreaded decision whether to jump right or left in the face of an oncoming car is not a once or twice in a lifetime decision, but a daily decision? That constant state of trepidation grinds on people, placing humans into a state of making most, if not all, decisions from a place of panic instead of reason. And it is during that constant state of nervous exhaustion, a state manufactured out of whole cloth by its potential beneficiaries, when those who wish to wield power in society strikes. What is being offered is a society in which no one can fail, but a society in which no one can fail is also a society in which no one can succeed, especially to the point where they can threaten the existence of power structure. And it is that threat, which is the existential threat to that spider web of profitable tyranny, that is being targeted by the global fear noise. The democracy being threatened is their democracy, not our democracy. The climate being threatened is their silver sheened, scrubbed personal environment. The actual environmental destruction that is occurring is out of sight. The intriguing of the subdeltas who inhabited other places is immaterial. The information being threatened are the lies being told to prop up the societal transformation. The equality being threatened is their right to be more equal than others forever. And the pandemic being threatened is the right to declare a pandemic on a whim, terrifying the public into ceding basic rights in the name of safety. Key word there. The means and ends are interchangeable, creating a Mobius strip of dehumanization on which every degrading tactic can be hidden unless you know exactly where they lay. They are visible only out of the side of the eye, an oblique uncertainty, and can easily be dismissed as figments or as conspiracy theories. By the way, the word conspiracy theories was made up by the CIA. It cannot be known exactly what will be touted as the next existential threat. What we already know is whom it will benefit. Note, it may seem a bit odd, but then again, really not. But it could behoove all of us to take the advice of Hannibal Lecter, considering what societal serial killers are seeking. All right. Now, it was republished from this author, his Substack. He's Tyler Durden. It's published in today's Zero Hedge. And I wanted to start off with that article because it's kind of what we do here. We're anti that. So we want to tell you why you survived today, because living on the edge every day, and I can tell you from a firefighter paramedic's point of view, it wears down your system. Your fight or flight is gone. You're always in that heightened state of awareness. You're always afraid that something bad is going to happen at the turn of the next corner, and it makes the situation actually worse, and it does horrible things to your body. So we here on the Sportcat Daily Gazette, while we may tell the doom and gloom stories, we want you to know all these other shows out there, the Canadian Prepper, the New York Prepper, all these shows that tell you you're going to die today. Well, they're doing exactly what this article says. They're wanting you to live on that edge so they can control which way they push you. And I am sure there are people on both sides of the aisle doing this. So you need to be aware that this is happening, and that's what we happily do here. All right, let me get back to the comments here because I know I'm behind a little bit. They're having a conversation about cars, and Chris says 1968 was Carrie Wilson from Wilson Phillips. And I think Wendell says he thinks Glen was on the Flip Wilson show. Funny thing, I remember liking that show. The JFK assassination was on TV. Okay. They're talking about what they remember on TV. JFK assassination on TV. That's what Denise remembers. And let's see. I'm happy I don't have a 10-bolt rear end. Comfortable pants would probably be difficult to find. Wendell said he can't afford a 12-bolt. Don't know what the hell that means, but okay. Denise, Hot Rod Denise. She was a Mustang gal. Love you, Denise. I love a Mustang. All right, so we'll go to our next story, but I wanted to start off with that because I really think that that's what we're doing here. We want people to be happy they lived another day, not be in fear that you're going to die tomorrow, because obviously these shows have a show scheduled for tomorrow. So Chris says people don't remember the CIA testimony about the conspiracy theory term origin. They also don't remember they also had a gunshot. They had, hold on a minute. Don't remember they also had a gun that shot icicles to cause heart attack in the 70s. Well, y'all, a lot of people don't realize they also had a sound gun to make people physically ill, which is now kind of a common thing used by some riot teams, but they use them in embassies to attack other embassies. That's some secret squirrel stuff right there. All right, so there was a ground stop at the Newark International Airport, and it has been lifted, and travelers were pretty furious about it. Operations returned to normal at the Newark Liberty International Airport today, several hours after the ground stop was issued, leading to numerous delays and diversion. It was issued for planes arriving at EWR approximately, I don't know what EWR, at approximately 1:30 p.m. on Monday, according to a spokesperson from the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. The ground stop was caused by FAA equipment issues affecting the Philadelphia's TRACON, which manages aerospace operations around the airport. Nearly 200 delays and 18 cancellations were reported at EWR throughout the day Monday. That must be the abbreviation for the airport. As of 7:30 p.m. Monday, according to an update posted by Newark Airport, the airport was experiencing residual delays due to the earlier equipment outage. Got through all those other hard words. I can't say that. Shortly before 7 a.m. Tuesday morning today, Newark International Airport announced that the outage-related delays have decided. Good morning. There are no longer FAA equipment outage-related delays at EWR, wrote the Newark Airport this morning. All right, so they're back up and operational, but there was some kind of equipment outage that affected Newark. All right, so there you go. It is back up and operating. And let's see. Next story. This was trending. Driver in, what the heck button did I just push? I don't know what the heck that, oh, I took a picture of the screen. Cool. Make it full screen. There we go. Driver in Chatham, Illinois crash that killed 3 kids and 1 teen identified but not in custody, according to the state police. The driver in a crash that killed 3 children and 1 teenager at an after-school program in downstate Chatham, Illinois has been identified, Illinois police stated. State police were called to the Why Not Outdoor Summer and After School Camp at about 3:20 p.m. yesterday when a car smashed into the east side of the building. The car struck several people outside the building before plowing through it. They went completely through the building, hitting many inside. It eventually broke through the opposite side of the building and came to a stop. Tuesday morning, the state police identified the driver as 44-year-old Marianne Akers of Chatham, Illinois. State police said she is currently not in custody, and their investigation into the crash continues. 3 girls, 2 7-year-olds and an 8-year-old, and an 18-year-old woman were killed. 6 additional children were injured. Most were taken to local hospitals by ambulance, but 1 had to be taken on a life flight helicopter. 1 victim is remaining in critical condition as of this morning. State police said they do not believe that this was a targeted attack. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker said he was horrified and deeply saddened by the deadly incident. Our community lost a group of bright and innocent young people with their whole lives ahead of them. He posted this on X. My heart is heavy for those families and the unimaginable grief they are experiencing, something no parent should ever have to endure. Chatham is about 12 miles south of Springfield, Sangamon County. I might be saying that wrong. It is not to be confused with the South Side Chicago neighborhood of Chatham. Illinois State Police did not release any further details Tuesday morning or say were there any other charges against Akers were pending. Said she was not injured. She was taken to a local hospital for evaluation and toxicology reports are pending, according to the state police this morning. So that was trending on, it was either trending on X or Google. I can't remember which. All right. And let's see. Hold on a minute. People don't remember. That's right. And Wendell says his house was firebombed the night Kennedy was shot. Okay, Wendell, you're going to have to follow up with that. He said, yes, I was only 3 and most of my toys were burned. Why was your, okay. All right. Chatham is right by where our beautiful friend Casey lives. I did not know that. Well, we should check in on Casey, make sure she's okay. This story was sent to us by an alert Alabamian. Tarrant capital murder suspect is in custody. Second teen is still on the run after escape. A Birmingham teen wanted on a Tarrant homicide was taken into custody, but his co-defendant remains on the run after escaping police custody last week. Jarvis Jerome Wilson, 19, of Birmingham, was booked into the Jefferson County Jail shortly before 3:30 p.m. on Monday. He remains being held without bond. Russell and Eddie Jordan Jr., also 19, are charged with capital murder in the January 22nd shooting death of 36-year-old Buford Troman Pete White. Jordan is also charged with the February 5th death of 22-year-old Demarius Antoine Cherry in Birmingham's Kingston community. Tarrant police previously announced the charges against the teens and said they, alongside with U.S. Marshals, were actively searching for the suspects. U.S. Marshals Gulf Coast Fugitive Task Force and Birmingham Police last week took Jordan into custody. He was taken into the Jefferson County Jail, but jail officials said he needed to be checked out at a hospital before he could be booked. Birmingham police officers took Jordan to UAB Hospital to be examined for a possible injury sustained during the foot chase. It was 9:38 p.m. when authorities say he ran from the hospital and has remained at large since. The Tarrant slaying, in which the 2 suspects are charged, happened at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, January 22nd on Mountain Drive. A neighbor told police White had just backed in his driveway and exited his vehicle when someone opened fire on him. Police Chief Wendell, hey, is this you, Wendell? Police Chief Wendell Major, at the time of the homicide, said investigators believe White was targeted and said at least 15 shots were fired. His truck was struck 3 times. White was struck 3 times in the chest and the vehicle peppered with bullet holes. White's mother found him wounded and called 911. He was pronounced dead at 7:33 p.m. White worked with his father as a concrete finisher. He was also a musician and songwriter. Major said money and illegal drugs were found at the scene. Detective Jacob Rouse said White knew at least one of the suspects, but said authorities aren't disclosing how they knew each other at this time. Interesting. So he was shot by this man. Interesting. Wonder why it doesn't make national news. Let's see. Did say Chatham is right. Well, thank you. You're welcome, Wendell. I had to go to a more recent one that had a little bit more substance than just the little video. All right. So yesterday we actually covered this, talking about the Denver, Colorado DEA raids and how they were arresting Trinidad, but yet the military had people that were there protecting them as security. So how do military investigations work? What's next for the members detained in the Colorado Springs DEA raid? To better understand the complexities of a military investigator, Denver 7, which is who this article comes from, investigative reporter Jocelyn Allen spoke with Joseph Jordan, a military defense attorney. The active duty The active duty military members detained in an early morning federal raid of an illegal Colorado Springs nightclub Sunday could be facing a months-long investigation and be the subject of charges in both criminal and military court, a military defense attorney told Denver 7. Fort Carson confirmed that some of its service members were at the underground club when agents from at least 10 federal agencies busted a party there around 3 a.m. Sunday. The DEA said more than a dozen military service members were at the club either as patrons or working as security, and that some were among more than the 100 people detained. The Army Criminal Investigation Division said in its own statement that it was conducting a joint investigation with the DEA. It's not immediately clear how many were suspected of criminal activity. In a military investigation, though, a service member's conduct is judged against a uniform code of military justice, a set of rules for military personnel. Violations of the Uniform Code of Military Justice are considered crimes by military standards, and even a service member's commanding officers can face repercussion for the service member's infractions. To better understand the complexities of a military investigation, Denver 7 investigator Jocelyn Allen spoke with Joseph Jordan, a military defense attorney. Jordan said it is likely that an internal commander-directed investigation is already underway that will look into the command and its vetting and safety protocol. The buck stops with the command, and they have to know what's going on with their service members, Jordan said. Eventually, it is possible the case winds up in the hands of a military judge, but there are several steps before that point. The Army CID does not make charging decisions. If the Army CID decides there is probable cause, the case would be handed off to the Office of Special Trial Counsel, an evaluating body that exists within each branch of the military, which is tasked with the charging body. Hold on a minute. Which is tasked with the charging decision. If the OTSC decides to file charges, the case must go through a preliminary hearing, and then the commanding officer who ultimately decides if the case should go to trial by court-martial. For the crimes alleged in the Colorado Springs incident, drug trafficking, prostitution, and crimes of violence, according to the DEA, Jordan said an investigation could last anywhere between 6 and 18 months. The investigations won't just entail the service members who were at the makeshift nightclub early Sunday morning either. The spotlight will be shown on all levels of the chain of command. Working in a nightclub as a security guard where there's, quote, alleged prostitution going on, if you're a night guard, you probably should know that. And if you don't know that, the question is, why? Why don't you know that? Jordan explained, but then it goes up the chain, right? Each service member has a team leader they answer to. Each team leader has a squad leader they answer to. Each squad leader has a platoon sergeant they answer to. Each platoon sergeant has a first sergeant they answer to. So this is how they have command, control, and accountability and know what's going on with all of our service members. Because criminal and military courts are separate jurisdictions, double jeopardy, a person being tried twice for the same offense, does not apply, Jordan said. So it is possible a service member found to have engaged in criminal activity could face charges in both courts. Jordan says it comes down to a higher standard for which the members of the military are held. Still, service members are considered innocent until proven guilty. Jordan said people should not rush to judgment. I wouldn't have a knee-jerk reaction just because service members were there and some wrongdoing occurred or that they were involved in it, he said. Let the evidence play out, let the case play out before you start having an opinion on the matter. So there you go. That's the process that they're going to take. So that comes to us from Denver 7 ABC. Let's see. And go away, Twitch guy. Our next story. I don't know if anybody followed this, but the lights are back on in Spain and Portugal and parts of Europe after a massive power outage Monday. Almost all power has been restored Tuesday, with transportation slowly returning to normal after a day of chaos and an evening of celebration. Madrid, the power was almost entirely restored in Spain and Portugal early Tuesday after a massive outage hit tens of million people across the countries and parts of France, grounding aircraft, disrupting traffic, and bringing daily life to a grinding halt. All 6.4 million electricity consumers in Portugal were once again receiving power, the country's government said Tuesday, adding that while trains and airports had resumed operation, there was still, quote, some recovery to be done at the Lisbon main airport. In Spain, The other country, the Iberian Peninsula, grid operator Red Electra said in a post on X that more than 99% of the peninsula's demand was being served and that all of its substations were operational again. Power failures of this scale are rare in Europe, and when the outages hit around noon Monday, 6 a.m. Eastern Time, airports were disabled, shops and offices were plunged into darkness. It took the better part of a day to restore full power to at least two major European economies. The tiny principality of Andorra in the Pyrenees Mountain was also hit. Spanish hospitals suspended routine medical work, and several oil refineries were shut down. In Madrid, the Mutua Madrid Open tennis tournament was canceled, with players forced to leave the court mid-match when scoreboards and cameras went dark. Despite the recovery, both Spain and Portugal remained in a state of emergency for a second day Tuesday. Portuguese Prime Minister Luis Montenegro said Monday he did not know what caused the blackout, but said everything indicates that it originated in neighboring Spain. His Spanish counterpart, Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, said Monday he was also not sure what caused the problem. It is better not to speculate, Sanchez said on Monday. Videos on social media and verified by NBC News showed residents of both countries cheering as power was restored slowly Monday. People could be heard cheering and clapping in celebration in both Madrid and Barcelona when the streets suddenly lit up. Some might have preferred the blackout to go on for just a little while longer. Residents in Barcelona and Madrid poured into the streets amid the mayhem, taking the opportunity to disconnect, dance, and enjoy picnics in the city's sun-drenched parks. Videos posted on TikToks documented the relaxed atmosphere, were given titles such as Digital Detox and a Good Excuse Party. Even if they had tried, they may not have been able to get anywhere quickly. Hundreds were stranded in elevators. Yeah, I heard the fire department had to make hundreds of rescues, with emergency management offices saying Monday had conducted almost 200 elevator rescues. Videos from Spanish capital showed passengers walking to safety through darkened subway tunnels illuminated by emergency lighting. Traffic signals were rendered out of order, forcing the Spanish Civil Guard police to help coordinate traffic, which quickly clogged the city streets and help evacuate passengers from stalled trains. Rail outages and disruption to phone service left American tourist Drew Torino, 70, and Shelley Charnoff, 68, stranded when they tried to get back into Madrid following a tour of a cathedral in the nearby city of Toledo. No connection with anybody and no access to any information in English and what was going on at the time, Chernoff told NBC News. The two eventually found a taxi to take them back to the city. He added, videos posted on Instagram showed some travelers, despite warnings from airports and authorities not to do so, dragging their luggage to Madrid airport after failing to find transportation. We didn't know the way to the airport, and taxis didn't want to drive us, according to Kate Volashuk, a Ukrainian tourist on a 3-day trip to Madrid, told NBC News. We have blackouts very often, so every place is ready for such situations, she said. But for Madrid, it was a real apocalypse. Ukraine, which has faced Russian airstrikes on its critical infrastructure for the past 3 years, extended a helping hand with President Vladimir Zelensky, saying he instructed the country's energy minister to provide support. Our technical experts are ready to help. In the event Ukraine help may not have been necessary, Spain, already according to Portuguese electric country Rede Eléctrica Nacional, got back online by making some of its own power and receiving some from France and Morocco, while Portugal made its own. So in other words, they lost power to a large portion of Europe, and they don't know why. They don't know why. Shocker. Our government, not our government, but their government should know. It's weird. It's weird. The Raleigh Games Act is signed into Georgia law designed to protect women's sports. This comes to us from Just the News article. Governor Brian Kemp, Georgia's governor, on Monday signed a series of education bills, including the Raleigh Games Act of 2025, designed to protect women's sports. Senate Bill 1 bars males and females competing on teams designated for the opposite gender, the governor's office said in a statement. It also requires restrooms and changing areas that can be used by more than one student to be limited to one gender. The legislation is in line with President Trump's executive order entitled Keeping Men Out of Women's Sports. More than half the states in America have similar legislation, many named for gains. Other educational bills signed into law included one provisional financial grants as incentive to local boards of education to approve charter school petitions and prohibited schools from unfairly attempting to shut down charter schools. And let's see here. He went on to talk about his family, and we know what Riley Gaines was named after. It's the famous University of Kentucky All-American swimmer who was championing the cause. Let's see. That's the crux of the article. So that was signed in, and he also signed some other things. If you're a Georgia resident, you might want to note there's some new laws that have taken place. Let's see. We'll jump to NPR, and I have two stories. Well, I had two stories on this. Congress approves, and it's sent to the president's desk, a revenge porn bill that is backed by First Lady Melania Trump. A bill supported by Melania Trump that aims to implement strict penalties and guidelines for those who publish and promote revenge porn is on its way to President Trump's desk. More than 400 House representatives voted in favor of the Take It Down Act, which doubles as an acronym that stands for Tools to Address Known Exploitation by Immobilizing Technological Deepfakes on Websites and Networks. The bill was introduced by Texas Senator Ted Cruz in January and approved by the Senate in February. Today's bipartisan passage of the Take It Down Act is a powerful statement that we stand united in protecting the dignity, privacy, and safety of our children, Melania Trump said Monday. I am thankful to the members of Congress, both in the House and Senate, who voted to protect the well-being of our youth. The act states that offenders will be subject to prison time, a fine, or both for publishing intimate visual depictions of people, both real and computer generated, for adults or minors without their consent or with harmful intent. Public forums, including websites, apps, and other online platforms, would have to incorporate a way for subjects of revenge porn to request that it be scrubbed. The platforms have more than 48 hours. The platforms would then have 48 hours to remove the content. It protects young girls and young women and is a huge bipartisan victory that we're winning tonight, Cruz said on ABC News. Melania Trump had led an initiative focused on children during the president's first term. Melania started the Be the Best initiative, encouraging children to be best in their individual paths while also teaching them the importance of social, emotional, and physical health, according to an archive of the White House website. The program mainly focused on well-being, online safety, and opioid abuse, the website says. In support of the initiative, Melania Trump collaborated with a task force to address sexual abuse allegations in the Native American community, met with tech companies to understand their protections for young users, and advocate for an increase in addiction treatment centers to provide support for mothers and their children, according to the administration. Though this is critical legislation and our continued focus with Be the Best, we are building a future where every child can thrive and achieve their full potential, she said on Monday. And so I read another piece that was by, and I wasn't going to go through that one, but it was basically saying that this could be applicable to anyone and didn't necessarily have to be considered pornographic. And there could also be some harmful effects from the bill. I didn't really read the whole thing because it was very biased for basically having AI generated porn. So I chose not to read that article. Let's see. Denise says parents monitor what their kids are posting, not to mention wearing. Well, I'll tell you, I have a daughter, and I'm glad I don't have a daughter in today's society, a young daughter in today's society. This was trending in Australia. Recipe 10 Eats founder accuses Brookie Bakehouse of plagiarizing recipes in a popular cookbook. Brooke Bellamy denies taking recipes from fellow cookbook author I have a hard time with this one, Nige Mashish, who said it felt like blatant exploitation. The founder of the food website Recipe 10 Eats has accused an influencer of plagiarizing her recipes in a best-selling Australian cookbook. On Tuesday night, Nige, who started the Recipe 10 Eats in 2014, accused Brooke Bellamy, also known as Brookie Bakehouse, of plagiarizing two of her recipes in Bellamy's popular cookbook, Bake with Brookie. In a post on Instagram Tuesday night, yesterday for us, Bellamy denied that she had actually taken the recipes. I'm no stranger to seeing my recipes copied online, she wrote in a blog post on her website, but seeing what appeared to be one of my recipes printed in a book launched with a huge publicity campaign from one of Australia's biggest publishers was shocking. Bellamy runs a bakehouse with 3 locations across Queensland and has a large social media platform with 2 million TikTok followers. Posting the recipes side by side for readers to compare, Maheshi said 2 of her recipes for caramel slice and baklava were copied in Bellamy's book. She said she realized after she was contacted by a reader last year who noticed the remarkable similarities with one of the recipes. There had been a lengthy legal discussion with lawyers for Penguin Random House, who published Bake with Brookie in October 2024, she said. To see them plagiarized, in my view, and used in a book for profit without permission and without credit doesn't just feel unfair, it feels like a blatant exploitation of my work. And because the income from the website helps fund my food bank, Recipe 10 Meals, this isn't just legally questionable, I find it ethically indefensible. Bellamy responded on social media post Tuesday night, writing on Instagram, I did not plagiarize any recipes in my book, which consists of 100 recipes I have created over many years since falling in love with baking and growing up baking with my mom in our home kitchen. In 2016, I opened my first bakery, and I've been creating my recipes and selling them commercially since October of 2016. Responding to the specific claim about copying the recipe for the caramel slice, Bellamy wrote in a March 2020 Recipe 10 Eats recipe for the slice uses the same ingredients as my recipe, which she said she had been making since 2016. However, she said she had offered to remove the recipe for the slice and baklava from future reprints to prevent further aggravation, and that she had a great respect for Maheshi. Recipe development in today's world is enveloped in inspirations from other cooks, cookbooks, author, food bloggers, and content creators. This willingness to share recipes and build on what has come to us before is what I love so much about baking and sharing recipes. The Guardian Australia also contacted Penguin Random House and Maheshi for comment. In her blog post, she stated lawyers for the publishing house had denied the allegations, writing to her that our client respectfully rejects your client's allegations and confirms that the recipes in the BWB book were written by Brooke Bellamy. Brooke, it didn't have to be like this. If you had asked for permission, I would have given it. And knowing me, proudly promoting your book on launch, it cost nothing to do credit. Do better, because authors who pour in their time, skill, and originality in their work, the ones you claim to champion, deserve it, she said. Last year, her cookbook, Recipe 10 Eats, topped the 2024 Australian Christmas bestseller list, followed in second place by Bake with Brookie. All right, so there you go. I didn't know you could. Is there anything new under the baking world? I don't know. Yes, Denise, you're correct. You should monitor. And Chris says, my daughter is turning 23 in July, and you're still terrified. Yes, you should be, Chris, because there's weirdos out there. Very weirdos. All right, we missed the top of the hour, but at the top of the hour, I want to thank Yerg's Radio, Right Talk Radio, and Rainbow Radio, and of course, Radio X in Australia for allowing us to tickle your ears with some news and some funny stuff and, well, just what's going on in the world. I encourage you to come over to YouTube and find us and see why Mom says I have a face for radio. And you can get us on the Para R Normal, 3 words, and guys, we spell with a Z, Para R Normal Guys, or you can just search out the Sportcat Daily Gazette and find me there. We cover a lot of news stories, and we also cover current events. Let's see, we'll probably stop with this news story since we're going to be running a bit here. Major U.S. This comes to us from the Daily Mail. Major U.S. city that's on volcano watch is rocked by 5.0 magnitude earthquake. A 4.7 magnitude earthquake struck just miles from Alaskan City on alert for possible volcanic eruption. The Alaska Earthquake Center recorded the tremor near 12:03 a.m. local time, 4:03 a.m. Eastern. The epicenter was located some 33 miles south of Anchorage, where thousands of residents reported feeling the light shaking. Anchorage sits 78 miles from Mount Spur, which continues to show signs of unrest with elevated seismic activity and increased gas emissions. Felt it from 45 miles north of Anchorage, first heard the building creak, and then came a solid shake, followed by slight rolling motion at the end, one local resident shared online. Residents across the region have been warned to stay alert for aftershocks and follow local emergency guidance. A 4.7 earthquake is the 5th quake measuring 4.1 or greater in the south central region of Alaska in the last 11 days. The region is located within a seismically active region known as the Alaskan Alation Subduction System, which is characterized by the Pacific Plate subducting, sinking beneath the North American plate, causing a major earthquake hazard. All right. So the USGS website has shown at least 5 earthquakes have hit since the 4.7 magnitude. The tremors were small, however, ranging from 1.1 to 2.0. Assessment from Michigan Tech University showed that people typically do not feel quakes with a magnitude of 2.5 or less. Those from 2.5 to 5.4 are often felt but only cause minor damage. I disagree. It would scare me. So, all right. So there you go. We've been on watch for that for a couple days, and Wendell keeps me on my toes with earthquake reports. Let's see. Well, we'll just cover the headlines on this. This comes to us from a military magazine. A Navy Super Hornet, which is a jet, it fell overboard as the U.S. Harry Truman had to make a hard turn during a Houthi attack. So during a Houthi attack, a Navy F-18 Super Hornet and the tow tractor, which is a big metal clunky thing, fell off the aircraft Harry S. Truman on Monday while it was at sea. So basically they had to bank right, bank left, whatever it was, quickly. And, well, they were not able to keep the plane and the tow on board. Let's see. Speaking of crime and terrorism, a West African-linked auto theft gang has been busted in New Jersey. This comes to us from Zero Hedge. You can go read about it there. But basically, 43 luxury vehicles, including Land Rovers, Mercedes, and BMWs, even high-end up to Rolls-Royce, they get targeted, they get stolen, they're taken to undescript locations, they're stripped, put in a container ship, shipped to another country, and then put back together and resold. And they are put on, are in big tractor and trailers and put on ships that leave our ports. I had a person with how do I say this? He was with the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, but his division dealt with missing children, missing people. And he said that within 48 hours, if they cannot locate the person, typically they're in a container somewhere being sent to another country. That's kind of scary. This is breaking news. Well, no, wait a minute. That's not. 3 dead after shooting in a Swedish city. That's breaking news. This comes to us from the Daily Mail. A Portland middle school teacher wins a huge payout after being sexually abused by children. I couldn't figure this one out. A middle school teacher was awarded $301,000 after she filed a lawsuit. I don't think that's a huge payout in the big scheme, because she went through this for years to get this. An Oregon middle school teacher was awarded $301,000 after she filed a lawsuit claiming she was sexually harassed by her male students. Susan Angela Bartley, 46, sued the Portland public school system in 2023 because she said it didn't do enough to address accusations she brought forward. Now, this was the accusation. Her grievance included when a group of 7th grade boys at Kellogg Middle School recorded her buttocks on a cell phone and shouted, "Sexy, sexy, sexy" at her. The incident occurred in 2022 and was recorded on school surveillance. One of the boys involved said he only participated in the antics because he was dared to do so for $5. And an email to Angela Bartley from the school principal said, according to the legal filing, that was the excuse that she got. So she said she experienced a slew of other inappropriate interactions with male students between 2021 and 2024, including when an 8th grade boy yelled at her during class that he wanted her to call him by his preferred pronouns, which was a sexually explicit term. During a separate incident, she stated that the same student shoved his cell phone down in front of his pants when she tried to confiscate it from him, having it out in the open, according to the Oregon Live. Multiple occasions, boys made grunting noises that she described as somewhere between bathroom and the bedroom when the teacher turned her back on the classroom. Students said peers whistled and moaned while Angela Bartley taught, according to notes taken by the school principal in the lawsuit. Here's a picture of Miss Bartley. She's 46. According to Ms. Bartley, who taught the district since 2003, she was not the only one to be harassed, as other females and LGBTQ students were taking the brunt of it as well. Despite the administrators saying they needed to address this issue, her mission was not to blame the boys, but to have the district teach them they need to have respect and act appropriately. Children need to be taught boundaries. So she was set to go on trial this week, but it was canceled after they agreed to settle her $55,000 lawsuit. About 40% of her paycheck or pay goes to legal fees. So she really didn't make much, but yeah, apparently that's a thing. We didn't have cell phones when I was in school, so we didn't have these options. And well, we also knew it was inappropriate to do that type of thing. So Denise says, "Where are the nuns?" Yes, smack those wrists. And dare I say this? I don't want to sound weird about this, but what also was the teacher wearing? Was she with dress code, or is there dress code? I don't know. So, all right, we'll leave that one alone. Oh, people again are trying to go after Orange Man, bad Orange Man. Let's see. Donald Trump takes a jab at Taylor Swift during the Eagles Super Bowl celebration yesterday, saying, "How did it work out? They were both there. His team won, hers didn't." Let's see. This comes to us from New York. Bodega cats, which are illegal, they aren't just cute, they are also considered working animals. So that's being brought into question. I've never been in a bodega that I know of, but apparently it's Spanish for warehouse. All right. We have good luck with teaching them respect now. Exactly. It's hard to. And Denise is right. You cannot make this stuff up. That's and Chris said that, talking about the crime ring, it is an elaborate crime operation. It's very strange. So apparently we have Amazon's guy, is it Jeff Bezos, he's in the news today for other reasons, but apparently we have a measuring contest because now Amazon is doing a Starlink of its own with internet satellites. And Amazon is also debuting a new pickup truck, which I gotta say, that is probably one of the ugliest trucks I think I've ever seen in my entire. I thought the Tesla truck was ugly, but okay. So form your own opinion on that. But it doesn't look to me like it looks like it's something stuck in the 80s. I mean, maybe it's okay. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know anything about the vehicle, but there it is. So, all right. And then, well, we'll just let ESPN handle the stupidity. There's another dumb racism scandal over in the NFL. Yeah, it does look like a Tonka truck, Chris. You can go over there and read about it on the Daily Wire, where it's basically ESPN being called out because they're trying to make a race thing out of Deion Sanders' son being taken. I guess he was the last quarterback taken in like the 5th round, and they're trying to make it a race thing. But I'm not an expert, but I do believe the top 3 quarterbacks that were chosen, at least the top 2, were African Americans. I don't understand that, but ESPN is charging the war cries on that one. All right, let's get into what we normally do here before we run out of time talking about stupid things. Let's get into the daily operations briefing. Yes, Chris, it's unreal. And as wrong one. As we were talking about yesterday, with the paramedic being killed, that's now being called a race crime. Just do your homework on that. I'm going to leave it because my opinion will not be very popular on the attack of the paramedic. What we normally do today, every day, is the daily operations briefing for us. Well, this is the same briefing that the president gets, except we don't get the secret squirrel stuff. I wish we did. If you have secret squirrel stuff, send it to me. Please do. By the way, I got a guest, Denise, that you and Brenda had recommended, and Jessica, and he's going to be on in July. So I will get some secret squirrel stuff then. All right, so let's go to the daily operations briefing. What they are currently watching? Well, they're watching severe weather in the southern plains to northeastern U.S. They're monitoring severe thunderstorms that are going to plague those areas, the southern plains and the northeast. It's going to include heavy rain, flash flooding in the southern plains, as well as the lower and middle Mississippi valleys. And there was an amendment to a declaration of emergency for I believe that's for a Virginia emergency incident, and there are no new significant events. All right, so let's talk about the severe weather across the southern plains to the northeast U.S. This is going to play out somewhere around now to about 6 p.m. tonight. It's going to start out in the Texas Panhandle, where there could be some tornadic activity, but Oklahoma City will be receiving a pounding today, as is most of Oklahoma. It's going to continue northeast. It's going to pretty much batter Kentucky, West Virginia, Southwest Virginia, and then later this evening, it's still going to have enough energy to have severe storms, maybe not with tornadic possibility, but at least severe possibilities of extreme weather in the Northeast, including Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. So there's the enhanced watch for the severe weather, and FEMA is monitoring it. They already have emergency operations teams in place, and they're watching it. So enhanced risk for severe thunderstorms remain in effect for portions of West Texas, extending into the Ohio Valley and the Great Lakes regions. Storms continue to shift eastward into the Northeast, bringing the potential for large hail. There were some reports yesterday of hail as large as softball and damaging winds. Now, there was not a lot of tornadic activity yesterday, but there was a lot of wind damage. Overnight, the Storms Prediction Center reported 28 and 37 hail reports, but no specific major damage. All tornadoes and severe weather watches and warning have expired. That was as of 8:30 this morning, but it maintains a moderate risk of excessive rainfall for portions of Texas and Oklahoma. 2 to 4 inches of rain have already saturated there, so there's a flash flood warning in effect for Texas and central Oklahoma. So as we talked about this afternoon, it's going to be Texas into the Panhandle, all of Oklahoma. Oklahoma City is going to take a pounding. Then it's going to lose a little bit of energy, but it's going to pick up over Kentucky, pretty much from Louisville to across the Ohio Valley up into, really, it's going to extend all the way up to almost Lake Champlain and over into Burlington, Vermont. Wednesday, the possibility is going to be there, but it's not as severe for the lower portion of Texas, Louisiana, and Alabama. With Thursday, pretty much everyone from the middle of the country down and across both east and west can expect some precipitation, but the heaviest being from the Texas border all the way up to the Canadian border in a northeastern swath, ending at about Vermont. The most excessive rainfall over the next 24 hours is expected to be over Texas and Oklahoma, but don't rule that out as it continues eastward. So today we're looking at it being over the Texas Panhandle, Oklahoma City. It's going to lose a little bit of energy before tonight over southwestern Virginia, Kentucky, and West Virginia, extending up into Vermont. Wednesday, like I said, that chance will remain mostly for the most intense stuff being Oklahoma and Texas. So let's hope we get through the next 24 hours. Yesterday, we said that there was no space weather problems, but they did blame a space oddity for one of the reports that I read for the Spain, Portugal, Europe thing for a space weather oddity. Not sure what that meant, but yesterday we had nothing reported as far as FEMA was concerned. There was no major problems to be anticipated. Today, they are anticipating some minor activity with possible radio blackouts. And it appears that that's going to be located centrally over pretty much the Slavic region, Middle East, Russia area. So FEMA is still currently working with the states to get repopulated in 10 districts. And they are working with the states of Virginia, North Carolina, Alabama, Louisiana, Texas, Kentucky, and West Virginia, as well as Oregon for emergencies. All right, let's continue on. Let's do the president's daily schedule for today. And boy, he is busy. The media, I heard yesterday, was extremely pissed off that they had to be at the White House, basically at 7:30 a.m. for 8 a.m. checkoff. My buddy reported that they were extremely pissed off about that. Well, I guess they're going to be pissed off again today because there's an 8 a.m. in-pool camera time for the media with an 8:30 press briefing by Carolyn Leavitt and the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent. And it's going to be on the topic is going to be on unleashing economic greatness. And there's some back and forth going on. The millionaires are measuring their things because apparently Bezos is, in the White House's opinion, siding with China, where they'll be posting how much the tariffs are costing on your new Amazon orders. But it's funny, they didn't post how much the prices would increase when we dealt with inflation under a previous administration. All right. So at 1 o'clock, if you're going to travel out of town with the media, well, you're required to be present and at Joint Base Andrews because the president is departing the White House en route to Joint Base Andrews at 2:10 right about now. 2:20, he's landing right about now at Joint Base Andrews, and he's departing Andrews for the Selfridge Air National Guard Base. And he's going to arrive there at 3:45 p.m. at the Air National Guard Base, and then he's going to deliver remarks to the Michigan National Guard at the Selfridge Air National Guard Base. And it's going to be in-pool local camera and the traveling press. At 4:45, the president will depart the Selfridge Air National Guard Base en route to Macomb County Community College Sports Expo Center. And then at 5:15, the president arrives at the Macomb County Community College Expo Center. And there's only pre-credentialed media allowed at that. And at 6 p.m., he's going to deliver deliver his 100th day in office achievement speech at the Macomb County Community College Sports and Expo Center, where only pre-credentialed media is there. I wonder why he chose that. Maybe because it's the middle of the country. I don't know why he chose that. And then at 7:05 p.m., that's saying he's going to have an hour and 5-minute speech. Don't believe that. The president departs Macomb Community College Expo Center en route to the Selfridge Air National Guard Base. And from there, he's going to return back to Joint Base Andrews at 7:45, and 8:55 he's going to depart for the White House. It'll take him about 10 minutes to get there. And then at 9:15 p.m., he's going to arrive at the White House with open press. I'm sure my buddy Penguin 6 will be there, and they're going to put a lid on it after that. So quite a busy day for the press and for the commander-in-chief. No idea why he's going there, though. It seems odd. I haven't heard why anybody say he's going there. But what do you know? What do I know? I'm just a YouTuber that pushes wrong buttons on the screen. All right, so the forecast weather map. We're going to take a look at this. This is the daily briefing from NOAA, the National Weather Service, just to make sure it doesn't have anything different. It does look like they've actually expanded the severe weather risk and heavy rain flash flooding from the Texas Panhandle across portions of the South, the western Southwest, extending up into the Northeast from Kentucky, West Virginia. They don't look like it's going now as far east as Southwest Virginia, but it's going to extend into Pennsylvania and upstate New York. And they're calling a cutoff right at Lake Champlain there at the Vermont border, but I anticipate that it'll probably extend a little bit by this evening. And tomorrow, the most heavy rain and potential for severe weather will be pretty much all of Oklahoma and portions of Texas. But like I said, pretty much from the East Coast, almost all the way over to the West Coast, you can expect some kind of soaking. And we're still talking. A friend of mine sent me from Colorado pictures of snow yesterday. They had snow in Vermont over the weekend, and she had snow in, I think she's in Colorado Springs. But in the higher elevations in Nevada, Utah, and still in Colorado, Wyoming, and up even as far north as Montana, you can expect a little bit of mixed precipitation tomorrow. It's crazy. We're almost we're well into spring, and there's still talking about snow. All right, so day 3, it looks like east of the Mississippi, there's a good chance that you're going to get a little shower. And maybe if you're west of the Mississippi, and still talking into higher elevations of Utah, California, and Colorado, some of that mixed precipitation stuff. There are forecasts for lows by day 3, which will be Thursday, being much cooler in the deep south. So we'll keep an eye on that. Let's see. Let's go back to, oh no, that's not where I wanted to go. Well, we'll go here, but that wasn't the map I wanted. But we'll see. Is there anything? No, doesn't appear. Today, the chances for excessive rainfall are moderate. Heavy snow, which is greater than 4 inches, and higher elevations, well, there's a high percentage chance of that for the next 2 days, as well as excessive rainfall for the next 2 days. And heavy snowfall will go to moderate on the 3rd day. All right. I still can't believe we're talking about snow. I still can't believe we're talking about snow, but all right. So let's jump ahead and see currently the live radar over Australia as we get to the 3 a.m. hour in Australia. Looks like there's some rainfall down on the Gold Coast, Sydney, Brisbane. It looks like light rain and some off of the opposite coast, but they're not anticipating precipitation really look to be anything at all. Light. Currently, it is 80 on the northwest coast and in Broome. And if you get down in Perth, it's 61. The central part of the country, it's around 60. It's mild there right now. And on the east coast, it looks like it's in the 70s. Down on the Gold Coast, it's in the 60s With you drop down into Melbourne, it is 54. And all right, so let's see. Let's move on into our country and see what it feels like. Currently in Mom's attic, it feels like it's 200 degrees. But it's actually right around, what is it? We'll zoom in Knoxville here. Right around, it's right now currently around 80 degrees. 80 Atlanta, Washington, D.C., 81, 77 New York City, up in Burlington, Vermont, 72. It's a hot one up there. And we jump to the middle of the country, Milwaukee, 58, Chicago, 65, St. Louis, 73, Kansas City, 60. See, it's cooler back to the northwest. Bismarck, 52, 61 in Billings, Seattle, 53. It's always cool in Seattle, 54, Portland, Medford, Grants Pass, you're looking at 57, Reno, 59, Vegas, 75, and LA, 69. Looks like currently right now the hot spot in the country, well, it would be Houston. Houston comes in at 85, following by New Orleans at 84, and it's in the 80s down in the Keys. This widespread area from Odessa all the way up to Detroit is where the warm air is currently, but that's going to be pushing to the southeast. It's going to lose the energy right there in the middle part of the southwest, where I'm talking about St. Louis, Memphis, that area, before it gains energy again and tears up through Louisville all the way up to Burlington later today. And let's see. We look at our weather warnings. Indiana and Kentucky, you currently have a severe storm watch. In Illinois, you're under a severe thunderstorm watch. In Ohio as well. Kentucky, you have a special weather statement. I'm sure that's about storms later to come today. Illinois, we talked about your severe thunder. Gale warnings, which is off of, where is that? That's in Illinois. That's on the coast of Chicago, up there on the Great Lakes. There's some gale warnings. And small craft advisory, that's in Michigan City. Texas, severe thunderstorm warning. Ohio, severe thunderstorm warning. Andy has his 1425 to 1435 daily test message out. Has 3 minutes left on it. We'll see if he has another one. Special weather statement in Michigan. I'm sure that's for the upcoming weather later today and probably the cold tomorrow. Let's see. Missouri, severe thunderstorm warning. Marine weather forecast. I'm sure that's for down off of the islands. Well, no, it's actually just north of the Keys down. It's a marine weather statement. Coastal waters, gusty winds. So if you're sailing down that area, be careful. We have a tornado warning right now, currently in Illinois, Missouri. It looks like we zoom in here. It centers over, what is it? Highway 5561 to the northeast of Perryville Municipal Airport. It looks as though they're calling for it to be from Red Bud to Chester over to almost Sparta. So if you're in those areas, there is a tornado warning. Ground indicates that a tornado is on the ground. Go to a lower place in your dwelling. Stay away from windows if you're outdoors or in a mobile home or a vehicle. Move to substantial shelter and protect yourself from flying debris. And currently this is in Randolph, Illinois, and Geneva, Missouri. It's right on the line there. It's a severe thunderstorm capable of producing tornadoes, and they've located one along the state line there. So got a tornado warning. Flood advisory in Puerto Rico, Ohio, severe thunderstorm warning. Chris says that the going back to the ESPN story, the first pick was taken was a black quarterback. That was by Tennessee, I believe. Tennessee Titans, my team, one of my teams, my AFC team. Let's see. Illinois, Missouri, tornado warning. We talked about that. That's something to be watching out for right now. Air quality alerts, we'll get into those from Arizona, and flood advisories throughout the Southwest. Let's hop over here and look. Let's see if we can zoom in and see the tornado warnings. Currently, it does look to be along the Springfield area, extending eastward. So if you're in that area, take cover. All right, we can see. Well, actually, here we got a new one that just popped up. Tornado warning. Let's see if we can zoom in. Where is that? Oh, it's hard to tell. Tell me where that is. Randolph County. And let's see. What does it say? Severe thunderstorm watch. No, it's been upgraded to a tornado, has it not? Let's see. Tornado warning. All right, tornado warning. Uh, from 2:20 to 2:45, so you get 10 more minutes left. Let's see, for areas south of St. Genevieve or along the line from 6 miles south of Redbud to 5 miles south of St. Geneva, moving east at 52 miles an hour. Hazard tornado, radar indicated rotation. All right, so if you're in that section of the country, seek shelter immediately. So it looks as though we currently have 2 tornadoes on the ground at least. So be weather aware if you're in those parts of the country, specifically Oklahoma today. Make sure you have your weather radios on. Make sure you are listening. Stay tuned to local authorities for where to go, what to do. I always encourage everyone to have a NOAA weather radio, one that is capable of being left on at night and that can alarm you if something is going on. So, yes, be very, very careful. Why am I getting all this? Okay. So yeah, be weather aware. I encourage everybody, have a flashlight in your pocket, one nearby, a tool that you can cut yourself out of something if you need to, and a weather radio or a radar or a radio capable of listening to weather updates. We'll update this wind map here because I'm pretty sure it's no longer updated. Look at that. Columbus is experiencing some of the most severe winds today. We see from the Gulf of America, the wind is coming in, going up to the northwest in Dallas, but shifting pretty much around the Louisiana-Alabama line and going back to the northeast. So that front is trying really hard to come down from the northwest, pushing that cold air. And if you notice right around the Chicago-Columbus area is where that meets, that's where it's going to get that energy later today. So be aware in that area later today. From about 3 to 6, Texas, Oklahoma, you're under the gun. Later this afternoon from Louisville to Burlington over to the northeast in New York is where it will have energy for later today. We'll look at the lightning activity. No surprises here, right at the Illinois-Missouri line, pretty much in that southeastern corridor is being hammered. We have a very large storm up over Columbus, small one over Louisville, back to the south, Fayetteville, Arkansas. You have a small one. Expect this line. You can see it pretty clearly here on this map from the border of Texas all the way up to Ottawa. See, it's still got energy up there. That's the problem. They don't usually have that kind of activity up there to the northeast. So it's going to increase intensity. So be weather aware if you're in the northeast for some severe weather. But right now, it looks as though, as we were talking about, Missouri and Illinois are under the gun. Indiana and Ohio, you're under the gun as well. And that's going to be continue as that front is trying to push to the southeast. That energy is coming up. It's meeting that warm Gulf air. We've talked about this before. The unusually warm Gulf water that's come in early is tapping that energy, and it's going to be dividing the country before it finally gets the push to go further east. So depending on where exactly that push is, where the divide is where the energy will be anticipated. But you can see the energy is well to the north now, and we're talking into Canada before it comes back over stateside. It's not usually in Ottawa that much electrical activity. Let's zoom down and out and see if we have anything happening in Australia. There's a little bit of electrical activity off the coast of Sydney. I wouldn't go surfing right now if I was anywhere down there off the Gold Coast, but that looks like pretty much it. All right, the air quality map for today. Nope, wrong button. Why do I keep hitting that button? The air quality map for today, pretty much the worst air, it looks like, is going to be out over the Sonora Desert to the east, no, to the west, southwest of Phoenix is where the worst air quality. It's considered unhealthy right around there. It's probably due to wildfires. And pretty much up the middle part of the country, because as we saw earlier, all that air pushed out of the Gulf of America is going straight up towards Michigan. So that swath from New Orleans, Mobile, Alabama, straight up to the tip of Canada, Michigan, Detroit, Cincinnati, over Cleveland, that area, it's going to be a straight push up where the moderate air quality is. So here in the Appalachian Valley of East Tennessee, it's another sucky air quality day. We'll look and see what allergies say. I could already tell you it's bad. I would walk the dog earlier and was like, all right, you're on your own, Ginger. I was already sneezing. The Zyrtec had not kicked in. It's code orange for most of Tennessee. In the valley of Tennessee, the East Tennessee Valley, it's code red. It's code red up through the southwest section of Virginia, extending into Washington, D.C. Actually, I guess that would be the southwest extending into northern Virginia and Washington, D.C., up into New York, Jersey, up in that area. Very poor air quality day for tree pollen, and it's starting to get over on the west, pretty much around the Four Corners region to the east is where they're starting to get the tree pollen. The aches and pains map, I like to look at this one because I'm a grumpy old man. Yes. No, I'm just gonna, no thanks. I don't want to look at your ad blocker. Let's see. Well, it's kind of yellow today, but if you were in the Northeast today, you're going to have a painful, grumpy day, pretty much from upstate New York all the way out through Maine, Ottawa, Nova Scotia. Yeah, it's sucky for aches and pains. If you're in the Midwest, pretty much from the Four Corners up, straight up to the west, straight up to the north, yeah, some aches and pains today. And the breathing index map, already I can tell it's a lie. It's saying that it's fairly good for most of the United States. I do not believe that map at all. And my dog has long hair and she comes in and, well, she's got all that pollen on her. Chris said he had to take a phone call. Is everything okay with Columbus, Ohio? Well, Chris, I can report that everything is okay, but they're currently anticipating some high winds. So everything is okay there. As far as I know, I'm not in Columbus, but as far as I know, except for high winds, everything is okay there. So this is our smoke map. And we can see, where did we talk about that unhealthy air quality? Pretty much from New Orleans, Mobile, Alabama, straight up through the mitt, up there in Michigan. It's going to be straight up where all that smoke is traveling throughout the midsection of the country, pretty much along the Mississippi River. And then down along the coast of Florida on the west side, not the east side. And if you're down in Mexico, it's a poor air quality day. Priorities for their Buckeyes. And did you know their song is Hang On Snoopy? Fun fact I learned while working on a Thin on Rock station. I don't get it. What is a Sloopy? At any rate, we look at, this is one of our favorite maps. This is IQ Air, and it shows you the current air quality and the rotation with the winds, and it's all helped with AI to show where it's all at and where it's all going. And as we talked about, the air coming out of the Gulf of America, going up through, pretty much like I said, following the Mississippi River, that line east and west right there is where the worst air quality is, just in that one section of the country, coming up from Texas. I can tell you everybody was out burning something yesterday in East Tennessee. It is so annoying. As a firefighter, I want to call and report every one of them. When there's burn bans in effect, that nothing annoys me more than having an open flame when you're not supposed to. We look at the air quality pretty much north of the equator is where most of the problems is. Down in South America, they have their own problems with pollutants down there. So that continent has some problems to deal with. We look over in Australia and it's relatively, except along the Gulf Coast and maybe on maybe just a little bit there around Port Hedland, Medland. Is it Medland or Hedland? Port Hedland, west. is where the air quality is kind of poor. Otherwise, it's not too bad in Australia. We can make this map round if you'd like so that you can see it as it's generated worldwide. And that is your air quality and the way the pollutants are moving. We'll show you a better picture of how the actual winds are going here in just a few. Hang tight. Hang on, Sloopy. Sloopy? Snoopy. What is it? All right, this is the power outage map. And, well, Missouri, right now, it looks like down there in that section of Missouri, Jasper, Green, Barry, Newton, and McDonald, you have a lot of power outages, as well as over in Lincoln. There are 41,000 people without power in Ohio. Well, right in the central area, Champion and Miami. I didn't know there's a Miami in Ohio. There is some power outages there with 10,000 reported without power. Michigan, they have some power outages right along the coast, Alcona and Ithaca, and back to Aceda and Monta. Sure. The section along the coast of Michigan. 36,000 people have been reported without power. I expect that to change as the storm comes to the southeast later today. So be prepared. Here is our AI map of wind. We love this map. It shows us how the current wind, it does really nothing news wise. It just does this good to watch the winds generated through AI, their intensity and speed and movement. If I had a plasma screen TV, I'd pop this on with some new age music and, well, probably just stare at it and kind of hum. So it really doesn't do much for us news wise, at least this time of year, because there's no cyclonic or hurricanic, is that a word? Hurricane events for us to really keep an eye on. Those are where this map really comes in handy. But otherwise, it's just pleasant to view. That's why we like to check it out daily. And all right, so this is back to smoke map and fire map. These are actual fires. I'm going to show you one here in a minute that is also fires, but weather driven or detected by satellites. Look and see, this map shows much of the Northeast from pretty much Detroit up to Montreal, down to Boston, back over really to the Chesapeake Bay region. That little bow area is going to have some smoke conditions today. And a lot of these winds, or a lot of these fires, some of them I checked out were prescribed burns. Let's see, that one's in North Carolina and undetermined, 120 acres, 2000 B-Rock. That one was almost 94% contained. They've about got it. Persimmon Ridge, that one I think was about controlled. And then you can see some small fires here in the East Tennessee Valley. Zoom out to where Wendell is and see, it doesn't look like there's a lot of fire activity up there. Indianapolis, down around Evansville, there's a small one. There's a one on the border of Illinois and Indiana. And let's just look at the NASA U.S. Forestry Service map. It gives us the best view of this, of at least working fires. Chris says there's never a bad time when that wind or when the wind map is on. That's correct. All right, so we look and see the red dots are reported fires. The big flames are actual working fires. And you can zoom into actual locations and see, like this one, Duggar Lease, 223 acres. And it doesn't say the percentage contained, but you can zoom in and see the satellite pictures, how it will actually detect fires, but not necessarily be working fires until someone gets there. When I say working fire, that means it's a large enough fire for them to put boots on the ground. And we talked about those fires earlier. You can look and see, like this one we were talking about, B-Rock, the one they've been working for so long. It looks like they have it almost all contained except for that little section to the southeast. Let's look over in New Jersey and see how they're doing, because I know that the fires over there on Jones Road were horrible. See if they have a map showing. No, they don't really show a map of containment yet, but they're still working on that. Let's see. Where else were some of the larger fires? Uh, Up in Pennsylvania, Thompson Hollow Road. Looks like they have two ones. One is almost contained, but it looks like it may have jumped a break and it has traveled to the northeast. And up above Harrisburg, where is this? Paxton, Packerton, small fire right along the Lee River. All right. Doesn't look to be a very large one. So it's track of the Appalachians. This time of year is just where it gets. West Virginia has several fires, as well as Kentucky. They have several fires going in the northeast section. And then jump back. Most of these on the west side, most of these are prescribed burns. All right, let's jump on. We're going to be running out of time here. We've got 10 minutes left. Let's update this real quickly. And the most recent earthquake was a 2.7 in Petrolia, California. This is down in the Virgin Islands, 3.7 in Kerndijk region of islands, 4.2, 4.6 in Punta Cana, Dominican Republic, 4.1 in Curly Island. This one is in Dana Point, Canada, or California, and 2.8 in Los Yabans, Texas. Don't know where that is. 4.9 in West Chile, 6.8. And this is in the McCree Islands, which is down southeast of the Australian region. Let's see if there was a tsunami alert issued. No tsunami warning or threat from this. That's good news. All right. And it was a 4 on the shake map, according to NOAA. And let's see, 4.7 in Hope, Alaska. We talked about that one. And what universal coordinated time? Let's see. It occurred at 4:03 universal coordinated time. So it's 6:52. So it was about 2 hours ago in Hope, Alaska. And we'll jump over here real quick to see. We'll refresh this to see if there's any volcanic or earthquake activity otherwise. And this looks like it's down in New Zealand. And it was a 4.7. And we look at, or is this one? The Philippine Sea. It was a 4.1, 4.1 in the Northern Pacific Oceania, Costa Rica. And I'm looking to see the 6.8. That was 2 hours ago in the South Pacific Ocean, west of Macquarie Island, Tasmania, Australia. And 5.3, the Coral Sea. 5.7, South Pacific Ocean of New Zealand. 5.1, the South Pacific Ocean of New Zealand. There are no tsunami warnings. We look and see up here in Alaska, they are still keeping an eye on these volcanoes, concerned about that. All right, we'll hop off of this real quick because we're running out of time. There are only considered to be some small radio disruptions as far as space weather. Let's look and see what the aurora is scheduled to do for the next 24 hours. And, well, it doesn't look like the aurora is going to be very big, and pretty much Canada and Greenland will be the only ones seeing the aurora today. So yeah, there you go. There's that. Oh, I just killed the event list. All right, well, we're running out of time anyhow, so let's see. A squall over Ontario, Canada, and let's see, a squall watch is for a severe line of thunderstorms. They must have a different name for it up there. So it's a squall. And high winds in the Gold Coast of Queensland. That was reported 19 hours ago. Severe weather that was reported 8 hours ago in the Southern Plains. Large coastal surf. South Wales, Australia. So be cautious there. That was updated 5 hours ago. Volcano in the Philippines. That was 2 days ago, but was updated 26 minutes ago because of volcanic activity in the Philippines. Well, I think he's trying to get rid of the test messages. I think he's worried about that, and he may have killed the event list, or just be double clicking. But we're running out of time here, so let's see. What is this? This was 4 hours ago. Tsunami warning from the coast. All right, so was it an actual tsunami warning, or give me some info on this? An earthquake, preliminary area 6.8 at a depth of 10 kilometers occurred crossing the Cray Islands, South New Zealand, reported by the Weather Service. Tsunami statement has been issued. All right, so did that expire? That was 4 hours ago, so I'm pretty sure that should have expired. But that would have affected the British Columbia, Washington region. Tsunami for the Hawaiian Islands because of a 6.8 earthquake. Interesting. All right. I'm noticing we're seeing more tsunami warnings here of recently. Is it just because of the season, or are we just seeing more of it? Let's see. So down in South America, we've had a landslide. And down in Havana, they've had multiple problems with wildfires in Cuba. Jump over to Australia real quick, and we'll see wildfires down off of the coast of Perth. Multiple wildfires up in Gibb in Western Australia, as well as Old Napier Downs. And they have one reported in Warman in Western Australia. Wind gusts, high wind gusts off of the northwest coast. And then we talked about just northwest of Sydney. Talk about the floods. They just can't get a break there, can they? All right, so we'll jump off this real quick and see what else we can cover. We got just a few minutes left before David Beckmeyer comes on and does his report. Let's see. So real quick with New England Fire page, just at 11:56 a.m., there was a multiple injury wreck in Tewksbury, Massachusetts. They called for additional ambulances. We have down here in a wreck with entrapment at 6 a.m. in Florence, New Jersey. They had a shooting in Philadelphia overnight. And it looks like they had two shootings in Philadelphia overnight that were reported. And a medical call, MVA with ejection in Hopewell, New Jersey. Baltimore and Maryland had a fire in a two-story middle group of row houses. Wendell said, I am from Queensland. No, I don't think I have any Australian blood in me at all, to be honest with you. Down in Charlotte, North Carolina, this morning, they had a heavy fire showing on arrival from a large building. Over in Illinois, Glen Carbon, Illinois, fire department on scene asked for a second alarm for a commercial building. And up in Kingston, Illinois, they requested a third alarm for a structure fire. And we'll zoom out and we'll go over here to Salt Lake City, where they had a third alarm for a heavy fire at a one-story commercial restaurant, and they were defensive operations. I've got about 2 minutes. Look and see here. This is the crime map. Texas backside tornado warning over Oklahoma. We talked about that. Be weather aware today. Whoa, zoomed out too far. There's a lot going to be going on. What we have over here on the West Coast, 2.7 earthquake 19 minutes ago, and down in 2.7, that was 7 hours ago in California. What is this? The magical box. 7 hours ago, Port of LA Executive Director Eugene Soroka says until accord can be reached with China, volumes coming out of there will be very light at best. Good to know. We zoom along to the middle part of the country. What's going on here in Tennessee? 3 people were killed in a small plane crash over the weekend. I didn't know that. Down in Atlanta, 1 person is in custody after police say domestic dispute in Marietta. Firefighters battled a large fire on Dog River, wherever that is. That is down in Louisiana. All right, so it's 3:00. We're going to get out of here. We'll go out of here looking at what we normally look at, the Bit Defender, and we'll see probably as it comes up. If it comes up, maybe it's down. The cyber attacks. I want to tell everybody at Yerg's Radio, Radio X in Australia, Radio Rainbow Radio, and Right Talk Radio. Thank you for allowing me to tickle your ears. Please come over and find us at the Sportcat Daily Gazette. We would really appreciate it. We need these subscriptions, and I hope everybody has a great and safe day. I am going to get out of here since it's time for David Beckmeyer's show to come on. Everybody have a great one, and everybody on YouTube, thank you. Please hit that thumbs up button, share it. It really helps out with our subscriptions, and we need all the help we can get. So goodbye to everybody over on Rainbow Radio, Radio X in Australia. We will see you soon. For the rest of you, thank you for coming in and allowing me to babble for a few hours about, well, pretty much nothing. I left a lot of stuff on the board here, but it didn't, when I scanned it earlier, it didn't look to be a lot of really crazy things going on. So highly subjective, but as we know, things can change. Hopefully, we will have a show tomorrow. We won't be one of these shows that talks about how it's the end of the world. I will see you guys tomorrow at 1:00. Don't forget tomorrow night, and I should have said this while we were still on Radio X in Australia, we have the Appalachian Witch is joining us on the Paranormal Guys, and then she is followed by a lady from Australia where we're going to talk about yowies. And Wendell, you could only hope. So we will catch you guys tomorrow. Everybody have a safe day, a great day. I will see you soon. And until then, we are out of here. If I can find my song, I'll play it and we'll get out the door. Everybody have a great day. See you soon. Bye-bye.